It's a time-honored tradition, passed down from generations. And even though we don't know what tomorrow holds, we can do our part today to ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Join today and help us ensure the future.
Well, welcome to episode number 28 of According to Flint, and going back to our Western sports roots, and happy to have the PBR two-time world champion, fellow Montanan. We're so close, yet so far away. It's the one and only coffee drinking Jess Lockwood. Good to have you finally, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to have you finally. Thanks for letting me on here.
Yeah, and I don't see you as much. I saw you recently in Nashville, and it was like, we never see each other. You're hurt all the time, so I never see you. So
I've never went a full season in PBR without being hurt, but these last year and a half, last year when I had that hamstring injury, and then we missed some stuff, so it's just been a year and a half of being hurt. It's just not my cup of tea.
Well, you bring it up, so I'll just go with it. Tell us the progression of that. You're in Kansas City. We'll just jump right in here on the hard hitting topics.
Right.
We're in Kansas City. You get stretched out. You pop your hamstring. It pulled it. What exactly did it do?
Yeah. So like me and Mcbride were talking about it just yesterday, even just how big of a freak deal it was. Cause I rode that bull, won the short round, ended up second in the event or third, I think. And I go to get off, and just a normal get off, but that bull was bucking so hard. He kicked over the top of me, and my right spur caught the flank strap, and I had my left leg out to catch me, and it ripped and slammed me into the ground and stretched me apart. So it completely tore my hamstring, like the tendons, muscles, ligaments, all off the bone, cut them in half, halfway down. And from that, flew up to New York City for complete hamstring reconstructive surgery. Did that, come back last September, and September to this May, as anyone else, just didn't look like me and couldn't stay on.
Well, I got it. I need to, you just reminded me of something. I don't know if you remember, we sat in Billings had got moved to September. We did an event here in town, and we were sitting in sports medicine, and you told me, Flynn, he said, I'm doing everything right, but I can't control my legs. I think something else is wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember?
Well,
we had that
this year.
Okay.
Last year in Billings in the fall, that was my first event back. And I didn't feel it as much then, but I mean, from riding the rest of that year and starting this year and riding through this year, that's when I told you it's like,
that's right. That was this spring. That was, Okay.
Like it seems like I can't do anything right on the back of bull. Nothing works. And I'm trying as hard as I can to fix stuff, but it's like, it shouldn't be this hard for me, because at the beginning of 2019 and from there to 2020, before I got hurt, it was almost like bull riding got easy to me. Everything slowed down, and it felt like all I needed to do was nod my head and I was going to stay on. Mm-hmm. And when I came back from that injury and it just felt like nothing would work, I never felt like I was hurting up in that pelvis where they ended up figuring out from that wreck back in March. It had been torn apart. So I never said anything.
Basically, they missed it, right? Yeah, there was another injury they missed.
Yeah, because they checked that hamstring, because Tandy knew right away that, it's hamstring. And of course it was. I mean, that was worse than this pelvis, but my pelvis ended up being split in two. My core muscles had ripped off my pelvis, both hamstrings, both groins had ripped off the pelvis, and they had to go in and tie all that back together. And when Tandy looked at it, because at Billings, when I told you that, I had Tandy check it, because I was like, it's been bothering me, Tandy, sore feeling, not hurting, and that's why it's taken me this long to say something. And when I went down to him, he came into the office, and he has his little laptop, he always has.
Yeah, always.
Sets it down, and he just looks at it and looks over at me. He goes, "You're telling me this didn't hurt?" I said, "Nope, I never hurt, just felt sore." He said, "Are you lying to me?" I said, no, I swear to God, Tandy. He said, well, your damn pelvis is in two. Like, it should hurt you to walk around, let alone sit on a bull, and that let alone even try to ride a bull. So I don't know how this wouldn't have hurt you. So it was at least comforting to know that I didn't just suck like I thought I did. Because it got to the point where I was like, if it doesn't get better by the end of the year, I don't need to be riding bulls, because all I'm doing is hurting myself at this point, and I can't stay on anything.
Well, that was kind of my next statement. When I got word after talking to you, then a few days later, I get word that that's the injury. It sounds weird, and I think you have the same feeling I did. I've never been so relieved to hear someone was injured.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, and through our conversation today, people will probably pick up. I've always said, Jess is a turd. I call you you're peckerhead to me, but I always defend you in certain ways. Like when you were not riding as well, people were like, oh, it's in his head. Lockwood's done.
Yeah.
So when this injury came about, I was like, I knew something was wrong. Like, It's a relief.
It was such a relief. Surgery sucks, but I was so happy to get the surgery, because I knew now I can go back to riding like the old Jess, and not this Jess that was around from September to May that couldn't stay on a thing. And it's funny because Lambert Mcbride, as soon as I got word of what it was and told them, that you could just tell they were like, oh, thank God, because we didn't have no answers for you. We didn't have any answers for you. And Cooper Davis over the weekend, he said he'd been over to Lambert's with Mcbride and JW a couple times here lately, and said one morning they were sitting around and drinking coffee, and just all of a sudden they started talking about me, and all three of those old timers, the legends, they were like, oh God, it was so nice to know that Jess was hurt, because we didn't know what to tell him at that point. So thank God he was hurt.
You're washed up. Oh,
yeah.
Thank God he's not washed up. 20, what are you now? 23?
23, 24 in a couple weeks.
24 years old. His career's done. He's
Yeah.
just feeding cows all winter now.
Right. And that's what I was thinking, because like I said, I was never hurting. I was just sore, and I couldn't figure it out. I knew I couldn't get to my rope when I was riding, and I knew I couldn't really control my legs that well. But yeah, relief.
Well, and now as this airs, the timeline is up to you, right? Is that what I'm getting from Tanny Freeman? Hey, you're ready physically, healing wise. Now it's when you're ready, right?
Yeah, I am a little bit weak still, and that surgery took a lot of weight off me, and I don't have much weight to lose. So I still need to gain back about 3 pounds to get to the weight I even like to ride at, and get some strength back to me. But Tandy and the sports med crew checked me out, and I'm physically healed, but now it's just easing into it. I've been riding a horse all week with a saddle, and they said beginning of next week, go bareback and just walk around the arena and squeeze like I'm riding, and only do that the first day. And the next morning, if I'm even the least bit sore, go back to riding a saddle until I can ride just by walking bareback, squeezing, and it doesn't hurt. And then the next day, trot. And if that goes as getting sore or hurting on me, then walk again the next day bareback. So it's just stepping stones of coming back at this point.
And it's not like you're in the world title race. You could rally and make the world finals. So there's no hurry. Like, this isn't a frantic thing to get back to win the world title. So you're taking it, you're looking, and good for you, you're looking ahead 3-4 months of the quality that you can ride. So that's a good feeling too.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Mcbride were on the phone yesterday and talking about that there's no sense in rushing anything for this year. Can't win the world. If I make it back in one event and for this year, that event, I'm going to have it in my mind and my body that when I do come back, I'm supposed to win the first event I come back to.
Right.
So if all I have is one event before the world finals, that's perfectly fine. I'll go and win that sucker, go to the world finals, ride there, win that, and set myself up for next year. And if I can't come back this year, that's fine by me too.
So be it.
As long as I'm
Yeah.
healthy to start a season. Yeah.
Funny. I just had this discussion I was on the phone with my mom talking about you, and it brought, this topic came up that you just brought up. We do a lot of those Q&As with fans that they just always want to know about how do you practice? Like, what do you do to train? And certain guys, there's guys we know that are ranchers or cowboys. I always think of Dakota Lewis. He's on a horse every day, you know,
Yeah.
and he'll say, well, if you want to be a bull rider, they'll have their kid there. Ride a horse bareback.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good way to train. And they get this look on their face like, no, really. Riding a horse bareback, that it really simulates your body motion and balance. I always joke that my girls can get on a horse with a halter bareback and lope across a field. I can't, but they can. And it really, that's the best way to figure it out, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, riding a horse bareback, you're using all those same muscles that you're going to use riding a bull. And you can't work out those muscles in the gym because it's using everything from below your neck to stay on that horse, your core, your chest. I mean, everything in your body has to be perfect movement wise to ride a horse bareback even.
Yeah. You should see me ride a horse bareback. I can ride a horse walking bareback and I do that. And any more than that, I panic. I'm grabbing mane. I'm clinching as hard as I can. It's entertaining. Yes. I can rope though.
I want to see you. We'll go ride bareback together.
You ride bareback. I'll get a saddle. You be the man from Snowy River. I'm the man from Yellowstone River. That's all. You talk about these injuries you've gone through, you know, after high school and getting into the higher levels. Has it changed the way, this is a pretty broad question, but going through injuries, has it changed the way you look at bull riding? Has it made it more important, less important in your life? You realize if something happens, life will go on. How has dealing with injuries changed your big picture of what you do?
You know, I've never had anything too life-threatening crazy. In 2017, you know, I think it was a month before the finals when I got stepped on in Long Island. It broke 4 ribs, punctured and collapsed a lung, and lacerated my liver. And to me, those type injuries are more scary than this hamstring or this pelvis, because that's stuff inside that you don't know if it hit an artery, like hit your heart or something, you know, those ribs. Those scare me the most. But even after that one, it never scared me too much because you know it can happen at any given moment, any bull you get on. If it's the easiest bull you get on, you could still have bad get off and it's going to happen, or if it's the rankest bull you get on. So I've never looked at it any differently from the injury standpoint, just because, I mean, like I tell Mom all the time when we may be doing dumb stuff around the place here, Mom, I could die walking across the road in one of these cities that I'm at. So I can't look at life any differently because it can happen at any given moment, whether you're riding bulls or walking across the street. There's
got to be a good feeling that, you know, you're a 2-time world champion. You got big checks on the wall over your left shoulder that I can see. You have put a lot of, financially, you've put a lot of stuff back into a ranch, into your ranch. You've bought cattle, there's got to be a good feeling knowing, hell, I'm 24. If this ended, if you went and they said, listen, your pelvis isn't blah, 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 hypothetical completely.
Yeah.
If it ended, you're okay. Like you'll be okay. That's a good place to be comfort wise though.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. And ever since when I won New York City at the beginning of 2017, my agent, Brandon Bates, was the PBR announcer forever, you know. He got me hooked up with a financial advisor. Well, he told me to get a financial advisor. And one of Dad's friends from Billings, he used to play in the MLB for the Cincinnati Reds. He got me hooked up with a financial advisor up there in Billings. And ever since then, all the money I win and sponsors, it all goes to him. And it's in investments, it's in IRAs, and anything that I win, if I need to buy something, I don't buy something until I win an event or make money from an event, just because that money up there, that doesn't get touched. That's for when I'm done riding bulls, and that's up there to grow. When I need something for the place, for the home ranch, it's I got to make myself perform and earn it.
I said earlier, I always defend you, like in different situations. I see fans speak up or whatever, because I don't know if people realize, a lot do. You high school rodeoed with my girls. Like it, now we're on the same, we're in the same tour. We see each other all the time. But it was weird to watch you go through high school. I sat on the back of the chutes and watched you at the state high school rodeo in Kalispell after watching my girls. When that was going on, I remember in Kalispell, you were a junior in high school.
Yep.
And every parent there came and said, that's your next PBR star right there. That's your next PBR World Champion. And I know there's more to that. And I said, let me tell you something. If Jess Lockwood is going to be successful in the PBR, he's got to grow about 6 inches and gain about 25 pounds. And everybody thought I was being critical. Oh, come on. You grew 6 inches and gained 25 pounds. So Go back when you were a junior in high school, you weighed like 110 pounds. I said, these bulls in PBR will break him in half. I wasn't far off, was I?
No, not at all. And my junior year, it wasn't until I think that fall, like right as I was about to turn 18, that fall, I think I grew about 3-4 inches, and I gained about, probably 15 pounds there, maybe 20 pounds. And it was that case of maturing that helped me. And I'm still very small, but that's just my body type. And people always tell me, you need to eat more. And I tell them all the time, I eat burgers, steaks, everything during the week. And I'm a big snacker. I snack all through the day, but it's just from my parents being small too. And my metabolism, since I'm still young, it just burns off like crazy, especially when you're working ranch all day.
Right.
But yeah, if I would have came into the PBR as small as I was my junior year, I have trouble enough staying healthy, even being grown up as I am now. It wouldn't have worked out.
No.
Well,
and just because I had seen small guys come and go, we talk about, I bring up Brian Cantor a lot, because when I asked JB Mooney, the greatest bull rider he'd ever seen in person, he said Brian Cantor.
Yeah.
In a moment. But Brian was a real tiny guy, and he, his career kind of came to an end because of injuries. Not completely put it on his size, but you're dealing with, when you go from rodeos in Montana to getting on bulls in New York City, it's different.
No, it's big different. And even it's changed so much since my rookie year to now, that the short round bulls we were getting on my rookie year are the long round bulls now. There's not a long round bull anymore that I don't think that you can't be pushing upwards of that 88 to 90 on. In my rookie year, there was great bulls, no doubt, but you were kind of accustomed to those 86, 87s, maybe 88s. You very rarely seen 89s and 90s in the long rounds, but now you're seeing it all the dang time.
Right. When we talk about it, should mention Broadus Hawks, state champion. I need a Broadus Hawks shirt or sweatshirt. Can you go down the gas station in Broadus and get me a shirt? Okay. Cause I wear a different one on my stuff. Yeah, that's your project. Green and white, right? Broadus Hawks are green, right?
Green, white, and some yellow.
Oh, okay. Throw some yellow in there. You were a state champion wrestler freshman year at 98. What? How many
pounds? Yeah, that goes to show how small I was. And I think it was my freshman year when I finally broke about 5 foot. I think I was about 5'1" or 2 my freshman year.
Yeah,
I was tiny.
You were adorable, Jess.
But everyone picked me up by my shirt collar.
Yeah, so you were a state champion when you were a freshman, and then sophomore you lose a match and you end up third, right? Yep. After that, you said, I'm going to be a bull rider. I'm just going to ride bulls. You didn't wrestle anymore. I grew up in a small town. If someone doesn't go out for track, if somebody's all state in football and the next year doesn't go out, that's a big deal especially in Broadus where there's 60 kids in the high school or 8, whatever.
Yeah.
What did you, in a small town like that, did you experience some blowback? What was the tone there? And does it carry over? Here we are all these years later. What's that like? Do people still talk about that?
So the blowback from that wasn't too bad. The wrestling coach was kind of mad, but it's funny because he comes over and works me out during the week and has for a while now. But I was super nervous about telling him that year that I'm going to ride bulls all of this year through the winter and everything, because next year I'm going to turn 18 in the fall, and I want to be ready to go ride PBRs and prepare myself for that. And it would have been nice to wrestle and do that, but wrestling tournaments are on the weekends. Of course, the bull ridings are on the weekends. Right. So I couldn't do that. The worst blowback I got was homeschooling my senior year in order to go to PBRs. And my brother, he was a freshman that year. So he's in the high school, which our high school's 7th grade through 12th grade. We have some of the junior high kids. Mm-hmm. But my brother would always come home and tell me, if I wasn't gone at PBRs going all around in the country, that all the teachers would be giving him crap and talking bad about me, saying I'm a dropout and I'm not doing anything with my life. Because this was before I got on tour. This was when I was still just going to the touring pros and trying to get on tour.
Right.
And they would always ask him, are you going to be a dropout like your brother? Or are you going to go do nothing with your life? And, I hear that, and it just kind of fueled my fire more, just because, it's a small town. And if I can go make something of myself, not very many people have done that from Broadus, Montana.
Yeah. And
when I got on tour, boy, did their voices change. Seeing me in town, and this one's a really good story to tell about how people thought of me in that period. Because I have a workout building here at my place, and it used to be at the home place, moved it over to my ranch when I bought this, and I'm only 5 miles from my parents, but I didn't have that when I turned 18. So they have a gym in the high school, and it's an open public gym after school hours. There's oil field people that come in and get a code, sign up, and do background checks to go in. And when I turned 18, I was like, okay, well, I'll go get my background check, and then I'll go to the superintendent and get a code. Well, I went to the superintendent, and he wouldn't give me one. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I was kind of talking with one of my buddy's dads, and he said, that's BS. No, we're going in together, because you if these oil riggers can get one, why can't you? And we go in and we're talking, and he's like, what's wrong here? His background check, it passes. He was a student here. What more do you want? And this guy's kind of mumbling, and finally said, well, I don't give codes to dropouts. And it was like, okay, well, I see where you're coming from. And I was just kind of like, whatever, man, fine, I'll go work out at home. And then I got on tour. I seen him one time in town. Jess, how are you? How's everything going? And how you feeling good? You ever need to come in, let me know. And I'm like, no, man, like you lost me. I ain't ever gonna be your friend again.
I built my own gym.
Yeah, I don't need your gym anymore. I can afford my own gym. So that was kind of the story, that I couldn't get a code to go into the high school weight room because I was a dropout.
There's a lot that people don't see. I mean, that's what I always say. People, when you're in the public eye, I've discovered this. People really think they know you, but what they know is the person they see from a figurative distance. Here's the other thing. I've listened to PBR fans tell you or me, we're going to go on a trip through Montana, and we're going to go to Volberg, Montana, to see where Jess Lockwood's from. I'm like, you know what? When you consider rural America a town of 20,000 people, Jess, tell us what's in Volberg. If I were to pull in, is there even a sign that says Volberg? I mean,
those green signs you get coming in. It's got the little green sign about that big, says Volberg.
Yeah, what's there? Tell us about it.
The post office, and you got one house on one side, one house on the other side, and that's it. If you're driving 60 miles an hour, you are through Volberg in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Because there's other ones from Broadus to Belfouche. There's a couple of those. There's Alzada, and there's another one where there's a post office on the right side.
Boys and Hammond.
Hammond is the one I'm thinking of. Boys and Hammond. Yeah. So Volberg Broadus is your one place you can go get a hamburger. And there's not much in Broadus either.
No, we usually go to Miles City, which is, 45, 50 miles away to do grocery shopping, because that's the closest place that has a Walmart.
Oh, there you go. Got to go. There's and Wendy's. I stop in Miles City once in a while.
Yeah,
Miles City's a great
Miles City is a big town.
Yeah. And that what would be in Miles City? 6,000-7,000 people, maybe?
10,000.
Is it 10 now? Oh my gosh. I'm surprised you can beat the traffic. Get around like you do. Yeah.
So big, they put a roundabout in there on the sides of the interstate.
I know. It took them like 3 years to get it built.
Oh, God, yeah.
Biggest project in Miles City ever, putting a roundabout in right by the interstate. Watching you, I talk about high school. I saw a transition, and I know I bring these things up because I know for a young kid, it creates more pressure than I think people ever know. But I watched parents shift. When you were a senior, you were out on the PBR tour. You had your sponsor shirt, you had DeWalt, but you really wanted to make the state high school rodeo. That was a big goal of you. And I'll never forget, I wasn't there, but you showed up. You went to like Three Forks to try and qualify for the state high school rodeo. And this one parent, this dad said, I got there later. I think I got there later the second day because I was somewhere. And he said, oh yeah, Jess Lockwood struts in here like he owns the world. And da-da. I said, did he? Did he do that? Or did he just walk in and help the younger kids behind the chutes? Do you know? Like, I quizzed this guy and he said, well, he's got his sponsor shirt. Well, yeah. And I kept quizzing parents. There was a shift in the way people looked at you and put pressure on you. It probably happens in other states, so I'll get in trouble for this. Why do we do that to each other in Montana? Because I do see it. I don't want your head to get big, so that's hard. I think you wait for people to be proud of you, and sometimes you get beat down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly like what you're saying. I go there with my sponsor stuff on. Well, I'm required to, through contracts and legal obligations, I have to wear, if I perform, I have to have my Stanley DeWalt stuff on, if it's a high school rodeo or not. If I don't wear it, they're going to be calling Brandon Bates and saying, hey, why isn't Jess wearing his DeWalt stuff? Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to be a normal kid, ride some bulls, and everyone's got something to say. And, that's kind of hard. It was kind of hard at that point because I never had to deal with any of that. And anymore, it's nothing, just because I've heard it all at this point. But as an 18-year-old kid in high school, going to a high school rodeo or the high school state finals, and I've got sponsorship logos all over me, you hear a lot of crap talking. Yeah.
We should note, when you were a senior in high school, you were second place in the state high school rodeo behind our friend Tristan O'Neill. Let's give him a little shout out. Right. He will live his entire life and say, no, I was the state champion bull rider, not Jess Lockwood, right?
Yeah. And that's so funny to me because a good story from that is, we had the state high school finals, and I got second. And the next weekend was Bismarck PBR. And the first night at Bismarck PBR, in the short round, used to be a bull called Crossfire from Chad Berger.
Yeah.
And the only guy to ride him all year long in the PBRs so far that year was Cooper Davis. And I think that bull was third in the world standings. Just a great bull. And I had him in the short round the first night at Bismarck, and I ride him and win the event on him. And Cody Lambert calls Chad Berger the next morning. He says, Chad, do you know who rode your bull last night? The one that's about third in the standings? I said, yeah, Jess won it on him. I said, no. The second place high school state bull rider rode your great bull. And you just had to give Chad Berger a little crap about that.
I do got to say, I was at Baker when they said you slapped that bull. You didn't slap.
No,
you didn't slap. You know what they did? I
need the replay button.
You needed the replay. I turned to somebody. I turned to somebody and said, he didn't slap that bull. Well, I think he did. No, any other kid here would have, because that bull jerked you down and your hand was up in the air and they said you slapped him and couldn't go back. But we'll give it to Tristan. Tristan's a good guy. We like Tristan.
Exactly. One of my best friends growing up.
But he's still,
someone's going to take it from me. I'm glad it was Tristan.
He's always got it on you. Always. And I know him. He'll always hold that over your head. You just said at the time, you've heard it all now, but at the time that was tough because you know, here you are 18 years old. Same when you become you're to this day, you're the youngest world champion ever in the PBR, youngest two-time world champion. I listened to people, things you'd do on TV or say, or mistakes you made social media wise, whatever. When you become a young champion, people just expect that you should know what to do.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you should know that 1 million people on Instagram or whatever, that you should just know how to filter and work your way through this.
Right.
That's a hard place to be.
Yeah. And when I won that first world title, I just turned 20 years old the month before. And, I'm still learning life at that point. And it wasn't until the next year in beginning of 2018 that I had bought the place that I'm at now, this little ranch down from my parents. And it wasn't until then that I really did some growing up, like having to get a loan, mortgages, all sorts of grown up stuff. And before that, I didn't know real world stuff. I did a little bit, but not to the extent of that. And everyone's expecting me to, well, he's got a world title. He should know everything.
He should know better. He should know better. That's a famous phrase. He should know better.
Yep.
Because you picked up, you talked about homeschooling. You did a lot of that. And this was something else that polarized you a little bit. You just picked up and went to Cody Lambert's house in Texas. And, for some reason on the way here, I've thought of somebody on the way, when I drive out to do these, go over stuff in my head. The one person who I miss so much at PBRs, Fabiano.
Oh gosh.
Oh, your daddy, Cody Lambert's boy. And he was funny about it. Not everybody was funny about it.
Yeah.
But that was your choice. And I've told fans, there isn't one rider Cody Lambert wouldn't do the same for. Anybody could go see, but it wasn't so much riders as much as fans created a perception that you were then favored because you spent time at Cody Lambert.
Yeah. And the thing that always gets me is like, Cody's a old grump kind of, in the PBR world. Yeah, and I got to see the Cody Lambert at home before I ever knew the Cody Lambert at the events. And he's just he's a big teddy bear, loving guy. His son and his grandson live right there. And I got to see him be a grandfather to Dax. That was, I think Dax was like 3 years old when I first got there. And everyone is always saying, he favors Jess. Well, does Cody Lambert ride my bulls for me? Like, right. Does he push me back up on that bull when I'm hanging off the side? I've still got to ride my bulls and do my job. So none of that makes any sense.
Yeah. And he has nothing to do with the draw or the draft or it's funny how people try to connect dots when there's not even dots there.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
I've had Ty Murray on here, and that was episode number 1. Ty Murray.
No kidding.
And when he was 13, he went and spent a summer with Larry Mahan.
Yep.
And he put it such a good way. He said, in my career and all that time I spent with Larry Mahan, he said, I learned so much about rodeoing from Larry Mahan, and none of it had to do with riding.
Yep.
You and Lambert, similar. You guys, you mowed his lawn, you roped at night. You learned a lot about rodeo that didn't have anything to do with riding, didn't you?
Exactly. And it wasn't, we didn't ever go over much of the rides itself. It's more so the mindset you have, the accountability you have to have in life, in riding. Any action you do is because you did it. And if it was a good one, great. you made that choice. Hold yourself responsible for that. If you do bad, that's your choice. Hold yourself responsible for that as well. So the biggest thing at Lambert's growing up there and living there for the 3-4 years that I did was just the accountability.
Yeah. I'm going to go backwards a little bit because as you were talking about Cody Lambert, I think of your parents who, you know, I was clowning rodeos when your dad was riding saddle broncs at the circuit finals.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I rodeoed with your mom and dad, Ed and Angie. And it got me thinking about our guys when we do our Q&As with fans. They always get asked, how did you decide you wanted to do this? When did you decide you wanted to be a bull rider? And I try to explain to them, there's really never a decision when you're immersed completely in the culture.
Yep.
If your dad's a pro football player, you're just around football all the time. It's hard for people to grasp. You never made a conscious decision. You were just there all the time, right?
Exactly. And I was a week old and mom and dad had rodeos and they wrapped me up in a blanket and off I went rodeoing at a week old. So from the time I was a week old, I went to my first rodeo, and ever since then, just been around the atmosphere. And people always ask me what you're saying, like, when did you want to be a bull rider or anything like that? And I was just always around it. And for some reason, as a little kid, you see, I don't know, everyone's different, but for me, it was big, scary bucking bulls with big horns. And they were just so cool to me that I seen that as a little kid, and I'm like, I like that. I like those things. And it looks cool when people are on them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd look cool. All 90 pounds of me, man, I'd look good. Like the Whiplash, the cowboy monkey.
Exactly.
It's funny. I use the word polarizing a lot, and they use it in pro sports. Tim Tebow was polarizing for some reason because he was such a good guy. JB Mooney could be the most polarizing bull rider ever in our sport. You know, mediocre guys that aren't very good, they're never polarizing. You realize that, right? So there's really there's a hot and cold there. There's silver linings. If 30% of the people hate you, that means you're really good.
Yeah.
But man, that's hard. That's a hard thing to grasp when you're just a person. We all want people to like us. Do you get to a level you're like, I don't give a shit?
Yeah.
Like you have to, don't you?
Yeah, it's taken me, maybe until 2019 or even 2020 last year to really go through some crap like that where people don't like you. And, it's fine by me at this point. I feel like I'm a pretty easygoing guy, easy to talk to, get along with. If you don't like me, I can't help you. Like, I like you, but you don't like me. I can't do nothing about it. So it is what it is. Just, I'm not going to hate you for it. And I don't have nothing against you. If you don't like me, there's nothing I can do.
Well, you're not supposed to have fun on a boat. That was the most recent. Come on, man. You're not supposed to have friends and girls on your boat.
Yeah.
You're 24, man. Back it off. You playboy. I saw that. I saw the stuff.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And it got so bad on Facebook that I just deleted it because I had family members on there that are so quiet and so nice, that were starting to get on there and back me up. It's like, I'm a 24-year-old kid and I bought a boat because my financial advisor told me. I've never bought a toy for myself. That's one thing. It's always gone back to the home ranch or gone back to my place. And I've been super smart with my money. Finally, he's like, Jess, I know you want to win a couple more world titles or one or whatever you'd want to and then retire. So in a perfect world, that happened in 2 years and then you're done and you're a rancher. So in the meantime, go have some fun. You've never been a kid. Go live life. So I bought a boat and that is the most fun stress reliever getaway for me. And I've only taken it out 4 times, I think, in 2 months. But yeah, I have some friends on there and everyone just explodes and wants to talk bad. You can't do stuff right in the limelight. It doesn't matter. Me and Dad were talking about it because he was laughing about it. And he kind of said, he's like, you could go to a damn children's hospital and stay there for 2 days and talk to kids, have fun. And if, I have someone help me with my social media, if they were to post something about that, someone's going to say something bad about that. There's nothing you can do to make yourself perfect from a social media standpoint. Everyone's going to say something bad, even if you're doing the greatest thing in the world for anyone.
Wait till I show up on that boat. Wait till I'm there. Old Flint, shirtless on the boat at Bismarck.
We're going to the river, the sand.
They say the two best days you'll have when you have a boat is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. Those are the two happiest days of your life.
Yeah, I can see that already. Because boats take premium gas. I go fill it up once with gosh damn gas prices nowadays. It's like $130 gosh damn dollars to fill up a boat. I'm
Poor
like,
Jess.
well,
Poor Jess.
Free ain't fun.
No, but in the words of a famous philosopher, you can't put a price on recreation, man.
Exactly.
And I don't want to dwell. This wasn't meant to be negative in any way, but I see it in polarizing people. JB and I had the same type of discussion, but real quick, and I don't want to no specifics or anything, but because I've been through it. When you are successful in the public eye, when you're a public figure and very successful in what you are doing, you are also supposed to be perfect in your personal life.
Yeah.
A marriage is never supposed to fall apart.
Exactly.
There's never supposed to be bad blood. You're never supposed to do anything stupid, which we can talk about all this. We've all done stupid stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that's been the hardest for me is if your marriage falls apart, then you're even a bigger ass than what people think. I've never, because I'm friends with you and I'm friends with her. I've never approached that because I know how that works. But it's almost, is the word embarrassing wrong? I've used the word embarrassing a lot. Am I on track there?
Somewhat. And nothing was ever like very bad happened. It was just kind of, didn't work out. And people take, a marriage not working and they run with it. They say, bad thing, not too many bad things on that side, but this side, I've heard it all. And social media, that's all I see on certain posts that are made of mine that, bad things. Yeah. And none of that is true or anything. But if something just doesn't work out and it just doesn't work out because it didn't work out, people can't grasp that. They got to think the worst. Like, I did something super bad to make this happen. In the public eye, it just has to work. And if it doesn't, it had to have been something I did that was super bad. And that's not the case.
Yeah. I have a thing where, I read comments under my stuff and I respond just because to bad stuff, because I think people want the interaction. Like they've achieved their goal. If you say, come on, man, leave me. Oh, hey man. Oh, sorry. Big fan, But if that topic is brought into comments on social media, I jump on that. That's out of bounds.
Yeah. And
to me, that's out of bounds.
Boundaries. To me, social media has created monsters out of people because you can't get punched behind a computer screen. No one is ever going to say that to me in person,
right? Because
they know they're afraid they may get punched by me. And if you say that to me in person, chances are I'm probably going to hit you.
Ass kicking's played a pivotal role in our society at one point.
Oh yeah, good old fashioned cowboy ass kicking. That you don't see it much anymore because there's social media platforms that people can talk to you behind and don't have to feel scared by it. Yeah. And to me, it's disgusting what the human race in that form has come to, that everyone can talk trash on a social media platform and there's no blowback from that.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we'll change the subject, but I'm with you. I know it's like you're going through stuff anyway. then got to read what people are. Well, you don't have to, so you got to ignore it. But then you get that, it's like, oh my gosh. So, a lot of people, I think people realize it now, but I find it's amazing that your mom married a Lockwood and your aunt married a Lockhart. That amazes me. Isn't that weird?
That is the weirdest thing to me. And, growing up, we didn't really realize it. It's just kind of like, oh, whatever. But as you get older, it's like, and Grady's originally from Arizona. And, mom and dad make sense because dad grew up here in Broadus, Volberg, Montana. And Lisa, my mom, and all the other sisters and brothers were from Circle, Montana. That's a 2-hour difference. But for Lisa to find Grady all the way down in Arizona, a Lockhart, and end up together, it's just wild.
So I think so. Your aunt, your mom's sister, Lisa Lockhart. I'll just say it. Probably go down as the greatest cowgirl in the history of women's professional rodeo. I think. I've said it. She's the subject of, in pro rodeo, you have to be a world champion to get in the Hall of Fame. If Lisa Lockhart never wins a world champion, she is first ballot Hall of Fame all the way. She amazing, amazing cowgirl, driven, still has family. I mean, I'm a huge Lisa Lockhart fan. Matter of fact, I need Lisa Lockhart on the, how Lisa loves doing this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
as crazy as her life is, that's the hardest thing with the Lockharts. We always joke about, you can't make plans with them. Like, you're better off just hitting yourself in the toe with a sledgehammer.
But to grow up, you spent your childhood with her kids and you and Jake going to the national finals rodeo, watching one of the greatest cowgirls ever. You had to have learned some things about conduct and navigating through this life from her a little bit, didn't you?
Oh, big time. Yeah. Lockharts, they're like pretty much our brothers and sisters, Thane, Alyssa, and Cade. We grew up with them from, when we were babies. We'd spend half the summer at their place or half the year at their place. They'd spend half the year at our place. So, and just always being around them. Lisa makes the NFR the first time. We all loaded up for the first 3 years she made the NFR, and mom and dad drove us and their 3 kids down there in a van. We went down there in a van to Las Vegas, Nevada. and if that doesn't show you how close we are, I don't know what will. But just seeing Lisa in that world since 2007, even to now, growing up watching her conduct and how she presented herself, it was big time that, okay, I really need to watch this when I got to a certain age, that this is how you need to present yourself as a professional athlete.
Tell her how easy someday this has been. Because Lisa, when she does stuff like this or my TV show in Vegas, she's amazing, but she hates it. She
she does. That's the thing about Lisa. She doesn't like the limelight at all. The spotlight on her. She does not like it, but she presents herself so well that you would think she absolutely loves it. Yeah. She's such a good talker. When she's done and retired, I think she needs to commentate the barrel racing of the NFR. And she never will because she doesn't like that stuff. But she'd be dumb not to because she talks so well about anything.
She's cool. She's the coolest. Little Lisa Schillinger from Circle, Montana. That's what I always call her. Thanks, Flint. Hey, at the NFR last year, I host the Buckle Awards at night. And in Texas, they gave the winners the option to do it remotely because of COVID.
Yeah.
Where we just put them on the big screen. And I called her out. I said, "Oh, Lisa, yeah, this is right up your alley. You don't have to come be around people. Thanks a lot, Flint." She was pissed that I called her out on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you some bull riders. And just really quick in a few lines, tell me what you can tell me about their riding a little, but also kind of what's in here about that person. Okay. JB Mooney.
JB's such a good one to talk about too, because anyone that knows him can tell you firsthand that, JB likes to present himself as the guy that, smokes cigarettes and drinks some beer and likes to be a fun haver, but JB, it really is not that guy. He is down to earth, greatest person, one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. And it's almost like he creates a persona that he's a badass to the fans and everyone else. But that is downright one of the best men you'll ever meet.
Little bit of a badass though. Little bit.
But not on the level he likes people to think.
Yeah, I brought him up because I thought we might go longer. He's loving rodeoing right now.
Oh God, it's good.
He's a rodeo guy. He's a rodeo guy.
Yeah.
So, long as we're on chant, we'll start with some big Jose Vitor Lemi.
You know, I'm friends with Jose, but not as good as friends as, you know, people like JB or Cooper Davis, Derek Kobaba. But Jose is just, and everyone always asks, like, oh, you guys rivals, like riding against each other and competing. And like when he pointed to me at the finals. And that is an amazing, great guy right there. He's very family based, very hard work, get you to what you want, and not much of a go out, have fun type person. He knows what he's there for, and that's to win, and keeps his family very close while doing that.
If I had to use one word, if I had to pick one rider, if somebody said pick one guy that the word classy epitomizes, I'd pick Jose. Classy. Yep. Justin Mcbride. You've mentioned Justin Mcbride, but think about his ride and just in general. Justin McBride.
Justin McBride to me he's my hero. To me, that's the greatest bull rider that's ever lived. Just what he could do on the back of a bull and what he could do outside the arena with sponsors and everything. He's presented himself very well throughout his whole career. And that's why he is where he is now, is commentating on CBS, because he did such a good job at being professional about everything.
The two best color commentators in Western sports, because they're honest and well-spoken, Justin McBride and Joe Beaver.
Yep.
Similar, you know. And Justin, we talked, I don't think we were on the air yet. We were talking about Justin. When I flew with him, when he was going, and now you've seen it, always has a book, some weird, obscure, big, thick book he reads.
Yeah.
He's a sharp guy.
Yeah. It's people don't realize that he's a very smart man. Like whatever he's doing, he wants to be the best at it. And he's going to learn and soak in, whether it's a book or, you know, he's big into training horses now and goes to big horse trainers, and he wants to be the very best possibly as he can at whatever he's doing.
In anything. Cooper Davis, you brought him up once.
Yeah.
What about Cooper?
Cooper, you know, the coolest Cooper Davis story I have is in 2015, right as I turned 18, Matt Triplett is a good friend of mine for years. He brought me down to the locker room at the World Finals that year. And I get back there, and I knew Stetson Lawrence before that. So I went and kind of sat by Stetson, and I'm talking with Stetson. Then Stetson got up to do something, and I'm just sitting in the locker room with all these guys I've looked up to and been watching all year long, you know, and for years, and just watching them do their thing. And I thought it was so cool. And at this point, like I get to ride with these guys if I make it on tour here in a couple months. And no one ever said anything to me. You know, they never came up. Hi, I'm JW Harris, or I'm whoever, Fabiano, and shake my hand. They just kind of did their thing, and I sat there. And Cooper Davis walks in, and he had kind of followed me on social media and watched some of my rides, and he had reached out to me earlier that year and just said, man, you ride good, and it's cool to see. Keep on doing it. And I thought that was amazing. Cooper walks in, and that's the year he won the event title, the World Finals. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Cooper Davis. And from across the locker room, he sees me and kind of meet eyes, and I'm kind of young kid still and kind of nervous. So I'm like, kind of put my head down, like, not like, oh shit. Well, he walks over, says, how are you, Jess? And shakes my hand. I'm like, man, it's nice to meet you. And he sat there and talked to me for 10 minutes, and no one else gave me the time of day but Cooper Davis. came and shook my hand and talked to me. And you made me feel like I was a world champion already in that locker room. It was the coolest thing. And ever since then, he's been one of my best friends.
So talented.
Oh, God.
That guy's so talented. You don't know if he always there's so many other things important in Cooper Davis's life besides bull riding.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, he's always top 5, but he puts other things as priority, but he's so talented. All right. I'll do 2 more. I wasn't going to do that. Sage Kimsey. You know Sage very well?
A little bit.
But not much. You get a lot, like, are you guys friends? Would you call Sage Kimsey your friend?
I don't know. It's just different worlds. So we never have gotten to know each other. So I guess acquaintances.
Yeah. What kind of bull rider is he?
That's an amazing bull rider.
Yeah.
I would love to see, it's the talk of the last however many years he's been in the pro rodeos, that why doesn't he make the switch to PBRs? Because he rides so good. But you can't blame the guy. You look at his world standings and his career earnings and that side of the sport, that he does great over there and he dominates. And last year, he got beat, but he's done so well over there for so long, kind of like the JW Harris,
Yeah.
And at this point, he's kind of like JW. You make the transition. It's kind of later off in your career. But yeah.
He, I think there's some guys who just love rodeo.
Yeah.
And that I always say great bull riders are great bull riders, no matter what letters are in front of it. So,
yeah.
All right. Last one. Then I'm going to let you go. Jake Lockwood.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Jake's, he gets me so aggravated all the time.
I knew it.
Anyone else could tell him what I'm thinking. If I told this person, they went and told him, I feel like he'd soak it in a lot more. But I'm the broken record to Jake, because I'll tell him something and he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And he doesn't soak it in, I don't think, unless he comes to me and asks, then he soaks it in a little more. But if I say something to him without him asking me, he doesn't really care about it. And he was at a pro rodeo last night, actually, Miles City, Montana. And he'd went to Baker last week, but at Big Sky PBR, he tore his meniscus.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Got an MRI from Tandy, and Tandy said, yeah, it's torn meniscus. Go rehab. Well, Jake went rehab for 3 weeks. He's like, oh, it's good enough. And I'm like, Jake, that ain't good enough. Like, a torn meniscus is like a 2-3 month deal. Well, he went to Baker and he got pulled down by this bull. And I said, well, yeah, you got pulled down. You can't bring your knee up and use your knee to keep you back. You can't use your knees like you need to. And last night, same thing. He got pulled down by this bull. And I said, Jake, your knee is not ready. Let that thing heal, because there ain't no sense in entering if you can't use your body like it needs to work to ride bulls. And I haven't talked to him today, so I don't know if it's going to soak in with him or not. Chances are he's probably already entered something else.
Yeah.
But,
he's taller and long legs. Your dad was such a good, solid, like your dad could have gone to the NFR whenever, but he just stayed close to home. Ed doesn't say crap, and
everyone always tells me is that Dad was such a great bronc rider, and he could have made the finals easy, but he always wanted to stay home. And, Dad's the opposite to me. Oh, no, I was gone for this many years, and I was just all right, and that's why I didn't make the finals. But you talk to anyone else, and they said, no, your dad might go half the year and be top 15, and then he'd literally just go home, and he'd be in the top 15. And everyone else would be like, what the hell are you doing, Ed? It's like, oh, they need help at the ranch. I've got to go home.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so anyway, point being, has Jake ever, I look at the way Jake's built, those long legs. I think he'd be a great bronc rider. I always thought he'd be a good 2-event guy in rodeo. And he never has.
Never has. No.
Tell him I said that
he needs to try it.
Yeah.
Right.
Track out old Ed's old saddle. So old it still has a saddle horn on it.
It's so old they don't even make them anymore. It's an old Severe.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Nice. Huh. As we look ahead, as this airs, what do you have? You are playing it by ear on your rehab, but for people watching this right now, they'll watch it in the future, but in real time, Do you have a prediction of when you might come and get on again at a PBR? What are you thinking, or playing it by ear?
You know, it's hard because like Tandy and Sportsman, they said, don't put a timeline. Be stupid to put a timeline. But, you know, I would love to be ready by Deadwood, South Dakota here in a month.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
And if that's the first one I can make back, that'd be perfect.
That would
And, you know, looking at it, I've been riding with my horse with the saddle all week. And the first time, I got off and I called him because I was kind of scared and paranoid, because where they fixed that pelvis was, it kind of felt funny again. And that's how it felt when I was riding and not knowing that it was messed up. And I asked him if that was normal. And they said, well, yeah, it's normal. Those muscles are waking up and everything is kind of getting conditioned back to riding. So, but now that it's not bothering me riding with the saddle. So that's a good sign. And we'll just have to see how it goes getting on these horse bareback and riding around. But to me, it doesn't seem crazy to say a month plus, just a little over a month.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. And one thing I didn't bring up though, I want you to know that sometimes fans watch. JB went through this. You've gone through it. You walk in the hallway, you get bucked off a bull, you walk in the hallway and you throw your rope and kick something. And people instantly, oh, look at that. Sore loser. Well, Jerome Robinson, I need him on here too.
Yeah.
You know, made the NFR however many times, 15 times. He always has told me, we all acted that way. We all did the same thing. There just wasn't a camera following us around.
Yeah.
So you're getting aware of the camera. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
You've toned it down with the camera on you, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
But also, I'll tell you this, there's nothing wrong hating to lose.
Oh yeah. And the thing I always say is you show me a good loser. Like if I was to walk out and not give a crap, you show me someone that's good at that, I'll show you a bad winner. Like it's not the same mindset. You know, there's a different mindset that comes with riding at that level and being a world title contender or world champion. You have high expectations for yourself. And when you don't meet those, you're going to be damn pissed, because you know you are fully capable of riding every single bull there is out there. And when you don't, you're going to be mad.
The only one you're mad at is you.
Yeah.
Who's mad at you? Yeah. I think Vince Lombardi said, show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser.
Yeah.
I think that was him. So, well, listen, we look forward to having you back. I'm glad you took the time away from your bulls and cows today. Honestly, and the guys in this room that do this with me know, when we first started putting this together, we need Jess Lockwood. And I said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I don't want to have Jess on yet. There's going to be a time where I go, I can spend an hour with Jess now. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to let things die down in certain areas of your life. And here in the last couple of weeks, and then I saw you in Nashville the other day. I said, I think it's time to spend an hour with Jess.
It's good.
And it's been a good hour, Jess, and I appreciate it.
That was the fastest hour ever, I think.
See, you spend a lot. We would do good traveling together because we make the time go. When we drive, you would help the drive from Belfouche, from Broadus to Belfouche, because it's the worst.
That was terrible.
It's the worst.
A vast land of nothingness.
That's right. You can't, it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. That's what I always say. Jess Lockwood, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Flinto.
See you soon. You bet.